little bit of a technical difficulty, but hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Twist and Tap, and man, do we have a lot to talk about in this podcast, and man, is my internet connection. What is going on? It would seem that my internet is being weird today, so I don't do all this. But nonetheless, we'll try our very best. That's all I can say for one of the first live streams on the channel and everything like that. Of all days, today my internet just has to crap out on me. Like, what the hell? Does it not want me to speak? It does not want me to talk about it because WrestleMania, overall this year, honestly, WrestleMania, especially night one, was a type of thing for me. I don't know how it is for like any of you, but you guys can comment that whether you're watching live right now or replay. Definitely go in and tell me what you guys think for sure. Would love to know your guys' thoughts on the whole WrestleMania ordeal. So I'm actually going to be starting out with night one and of course working my way into night two. Just kind of like giving some quick thoughts on each of the matches on the card and what I thought. Night one is a very, very hard pill to swallow. Right now in WWE, it really feels like that they don't really have much of a direction of what and how they want to do things. Almost feels as if like, the writers that they have back there can't seem to come up with a new original story, if not regurgitating stories from the past and just changing a few key things on it. It really feels like that. And then, who they have the title on and everything like that. To me, that was just like, I don't know. Anyways, let's go ahead and just kind of pop it in. So we have the list of night one right here, and we're going to start with a 6-man tag match, right? The Usos and LA Knight versus The Vision with ISHO Speed. And this is what it seems like WWE has come down to right now, right? And everyone's all like, it's very corporate. They don't like the moves that TKO is doing because, one, WrestleMania being on ESPN versus, we were watching it on Peacock. With the Peacock subscription, and then it moved to ESPN and Raw's on Netflix, and it's just like, oh my god, ad mania, lots of ads, lots of celebrities, and then of course streamers and stuff like that being a part of the show. Kind of my opinion, it does. The atmosphere and everything. And to each their own. So, tag match with Usos, and it was LA Knight. I'll give my show speak. Let me say this: when it comes to the for Logan with Austin Theory kind of help. To that a little later, but is that enough to even kind of bring the the Vision back from what it is currently right now? And so, oh my god, my Wi-Fi just keeps crapping out. I am so sorry. I am absolutely sorry that this keeps happening. I'm going to try my best to just get through this. Sorry for the very messed up stream and everything like that. I don't know what's going on today, but Anyways, let me just say this. I'm going to grade each match from a 1 to a 5. And by doing so, you guys will get my idea on just what I think about each match. And the 6-man tag match between the Usos and LA Knight against the Vision and ISO Speed. And that one I'm going to give it a 3. 3-ish. Okay, and they're very lucky to get a 3 in it. I just feel like that the buildup really wasn't there. It really didn't capture me as a wrestling fan. It didn't capture me to be hooked on wanting to see this match, right? Like, the way that I perceive WrestleMania is that when WrestleMania is coming around, to me, every match on the card, should be something that is anticipated. And I had no anticipation to really watch this match. As a matter of fact, if you were to tell me, give me a detailed breakdown, play-by-play with the 6-man tag match, I couldn't give it to you because in like the first, moments of the match and everything like that, it had lost me. Some of you guys may disagree with me. That's totally fine. Agree to disagree. That's absolutely cool. But to me, it just wasn't something that I felt was just like this was a banger. Like this was a way to start off the show for night 1. So the Usos and LA Knight defeat the Vision and ISO Speed. And then, of course, Logan Paul turns on ISO Speed and blames him for their loss. And, his arrogance shines through again, which is just typical stuff. Honestly, I think that WWE dropped the ball on Logan Paul when they kind of were pitching this idea for Logan Paul to turn face during that whole time right before War Games. And Logan Paul was sent into the ring to take on Roman and all of them by himself. Brock held everybody else back. I honestly feel like that that was an opportune moment to kind of just flip Logan Paul face, but they didn't do it. And so we still get the arrogant brass knuckle wearing fruit bowl cosplaying pro wrestler, and I'll see it as that. Logan, I will give him credit when credit is due, when I feel like that this is something that he really has his heart and passion into it. It's starting to look that way to me. When Logan Paul first showed up in WWE, I was just like, oh, great. And, another celeb cosplaying wrestler. But little by little, Logan Paul does surprise me. And honestly, as a wrestling fan, he is getting me on his side little by little with the things that he does. But he's still got a ways to go. But you know what? How I am and how other, fans are, Logan Paul doesn't need to listen to us. Screw us. You know what I mean? If this is really what he wants to do, he's going to go for it. But anyways, the only saving grace to that match is when Logan Paul decides to blame ISO Speed for their loss, and LA Knight and the Usos come to help ISO Speed. And, Logan Paul takes that, that splash onto the table. Shout out to ISO Speed for really just kind of getting in there and, kind of just saving the match in itself. So 6-man tag match, Usos and LA Knight win. And then we go to the unsanctioned match. And this, to me, should have been the opening match to kind of get everybody off their seats, get everybody at home, glued to the screen. Because the unsanctioned match between Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, that was just top notch. And shout out to Jacob Fatu for winning. And also the leaked images of, his emotions when he was hugging Jay in the back. Because, obviously, getting to WrestleMania, getting to the grandest stage of it all, and being able to perform in front of thousands of fans, and then coming up with the victory, right? Getting the W and all this. And that's yes, absolutely cool. Jacob Fatu, really awesome. The whole aspect of them pulling out the freaking toolbox and Drew's face in all of it, right? His reaction to seeing that toolbox is almost like PTSD, having to remember what Punk did to him with that toolbox. It was so great. I love that. I love that aspect of it, and it was amazing. And my daughter loved it too. My daughter watches wrestling with me, so she was kind of laughing at it. And at some points it seemed kind of brutal. I do know that they're not going to really tap into that core essence of the Attitude Era brutality. So, but for what current day pro wrestling, WWE is about, it was kind of brutal. There were some good points to that match. And so that match, I score it basically a 3.7 out of 5. It did pretty good, and it should have been the opener to night one. I think that would have gotten like at least some fans warmed up for night one. But again, congratulations to Jacob Fatu. I think honestly right now Jacob Fatu should start setting his sights either on the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. Like, he's a former United States champion. I know that was like the only singles gold that Jacob has gotten since coming to WWE. And maybe people think I'm reaching here and thinking like, it's too soon to push him into, the upper tier titles. But I just feel this aura about Jacob that definitely could be beneficial as far as relying on new talent, because that's where we're at, right? We are seeing some of our favorites kind of ride off into the sunset, which I'll get into that a little bit later. So yeah, Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre. Jacob gets the W. Shout out to Jacob Fatu, the Samoan Werewolf. Awesome. Great match. And so from there we go to the Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way. Here's the thing. The biggest surprise to everybody was the return of Paige. And I was laughing when I saw, Paige taking Nikki Bella's place and teaming up with Brie Bella in this match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. And as soon as they announced they had a replacement and Paige's music hit and she came walking out, I already knew who was going to win the Women's Tag Team Championship. I already knew it was going to be Brie Bella and Paige. Now, what I don't know is where this is going to go storyline-wise. But I was talking with my daughter about it. I was telling her that more than likely, there could be a thing where the Bellas kind of turn on Paige, because Paige is one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, which Nikki is not going to be too happy about, because that's what Nikki wanted, was to be Tag Team Champions with her twin sister in WWE. So there could be some sort of a story build-up to that. Catapulting Paige back up into the top status, and we'll see where it goes from there, because Paige can go after the Women's United States Championship. She can go for the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. She can even go for the main titles, the Women's WWE title or the Women's World Heavyweight Championship titles, especially the World Heavyweight Championship titles that she has not held. And so there's so many ways that they can go with Paige. But as soon as she came out with Brie and they walked to the ring, I told my daughter, I was like, oh, okay, Paige is back. So of course a lot of fans are going to be excited. They're going to remember the good old days, and you guys know what I'm talking about, videos. And then so I had to break it to my daughter, what those videos were and who was in it. And so now my daughter sees Xavier Woods in a whole new way. But seeing Paige come out, I was like, okay, you know what? They're going to put the belt on her. It's kind of like when they had the men's Raw Tag Team Championship match. It was a fatal. It was a triple threat, and then it became a fatal 4-way, and the Hardys came out, and I was like, okay, they're going to put the belt on the Hardys, So Brie Bella and Paige are the new Women's Tag Team Champions. They took the belts away from Lash Legend and Nia Jax. And a big shout out in all of this, and she is one of my daughter's favorite wrestlers, and that is Alexa Bliss, coming out representing the Firefly, Bray Wyatt. Which was a beautiful thing, and to see Charlotte Flair come out, with her butterfly outfit, butterfly, Firefly. Basically like the light and the dark. I mean, their tag team is looking really good, and I am not ready to see Charlotte and Alexa Bliss split back into singles competitors. Although it would be pretty cool, because I would love to see Alexa Bliss go after Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship, which we'll get into that in here just a little bit. Rating the Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way match, I'm going to give it basically a 3.5 out of 5. It was okay. To me, these matches on night one were a little short. I wasn't liking that at all whatsoever. Especially with the women's matches, they were just short. And, I'm just like, what was the whole women's revolution thing all about? Putting spotlight on female wrestlers and not just having them in bra and panty matches and some stupid jello match and some pudding match or whatever the dumb shit they were doing back in the Attitude Era. And really just allowing them to actually show that, they had skills in the ring. And then, you undercut most of the women's matches on night one to these very quick matches. So, was it, like I said, 3.5 for that fatal four-way match. And then, 2.7 match coming up was the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. And I called it with my buddy Mike the Biz on the Deathlock podcast. Subscribe to that channel because I actually co-host live with him on there and we talk wrestling. So shout out to Mike. And anyways, the last time that we got together and we spoke about WrestleMania, I had told him it's going to be crazy, but I have this odd, crazy feeling that both, AJ and her husband are going to lose their titles. And it turned out to be that way. But I'll get more into the whole CM Punk Roman Reigns thing a little bit later. Anyways, so every match that AJ Lee has been in with Becky Lynch, AJ has came on top. And so AJ had to lose at some point, which is what exactly happened. And it was a great way to do it because they didn't take anything away from AJ. Becky Lynch did not get a clean victory. And while Becky is the heel in all of this, it's okay for her to basically pull some underhanded tricks in order to get the victory. Of course, Becky Lynch is the Intercontinental Champion in the women's division again, which is getting to be a bit repetitive, redundant, and boring. And so I don't know if maybe the reason that they did this was like a double-sided coin type of thing. So like AJ drops the belt, AJ can take a little bit of a break. Becky Lynch becomes Intercontinental Champion again, and she's only like a placeholder, a title holder, just to transition to a new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Maybe, who knows? We'll have to see. If this feud between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch is over at this point, or if it's kicking up to another level. That's going to be pretty interesting to see. But it was a 2.7 match, rating for me just because of how long the match was. It was very short. It didn't get, it's like I felt like if I paid money to go to WrestleMania in Las Vegas, I would be really upset with what I paid to be in those seats and to watch that type of match. I said 2.7, and then going from there, I would say that this one right here was a bit decent. Gunther versus Seth Rollins, and Gunther defeated Seth Rollins. Their build-up was short, obviously, and it was crazy because of how everything went down. So a lot of the dirt sheets was really talking about that Gunther needed an opponent for WrestleMania because of Rey Mysterio's injury. So they were like, Rey Mysterio wasn't going to be at WrestleMania. So Gunther decided, he was going to go after Seth Rollins. And then Gunther did a lot. So if you guys haven't caught his promos on Monday Night Raw and whatnot, even though he didn't have a lot of time, him and Seth did not have a lot of time to build up to this match at Mania. The crazy and cool thing about it is that, they really turned it up to get my interest in it. When Gunther cut that promo on Seth about how technically he felt like, Seth is called one of the greatest to do it, and Gunther doesn't believe in that. Gunther's like, you've been ducking and dodging me, and so now we're going to put it to the test, because the ring general, who really does as a heel, does not rely on heelish tactics for victory. He tends to get the job done himself because he likes to shove it in everybody's face that he, that he did it, and he did it the right way. He would get clean victories over his opponents to be able to shove it in their faces, right? Look at the reaction that Gunther gets when he even brings up the fact that John Cena retired after their match, and then AJ Styles retired after their match. He gets to Gunther gets to like how Randy Orton was calling himself the Legend Killer type of thing, and it really rubbed people the wrong way. So, shout out to Gunther. He defeated Seth Rollins in this, and this is where we get the return of Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker cleared to come back to to WWE, to come back on a full-time schedule. So Breaker comes and makes his presence known to Seth and interferes in that match, costing Seth Rollins the match. So it keeps the heat rivalry between Breaker and Seth to now catapult to maybe a SummerSlam blockbuster match between those two, which I'm going to be really excited for to see how all that goes down. So yeah, with that one, I give it a 4.1. Just overall, based on how much time these two guys had to set up a rivalry for WrestleMania to have that match and whatnot. Women's World Championship match. This one I'm not too keen on and everything like that. Liv Morgan defeated Stephanie Vaquer, and this was a big slap to Stephanie. I do agree with some other fans out there who feel like that WWE shitted on Stephanie. I don't feel like Stephanie should have lost her belt. I don't think she should have lost to Liv. Honestly, like, I'm tired of seeing the usuals with the strap. I would like to, not only just see new talent with the strap, but see what they can do and how much further they can go. Maybe not Liv Morgan. Maybe somebody else should have been her opponent at Mania if she was to drop the belt to somebody else. That would have been pretty nice. But we didn't get that. We got Liv Morgan, who came out with the Las Vegas theme style, show entrance with new theme music and whatever, So the match in itself to me was honestly 3.1. I give it a 3.1. It was just, I didn't feel like we got enough out of it. I didn't feel like that, Liv nor Stephanie had enough time to have multiple spot moments that can really be highlights in a WrestleMania 42 highlight reel. Big shout out to Stephanie for being a real champion, a true champion. Yes, everyone was pointing at at the leaked image, the leaked video clip that showed Stephanie crying, and I don't know why people get they question wrestlers, right? Like, Stephanie Vaquer loses her title, she's sitting on the sidelines on the outside of the ring while Liv Morgan's celebrating her championship victory, and you see Stephanie crying, and some people were just making kind of not really fun of her, but just kind of questioning why she's crying. People bring up the fact oh, it's fake, and she knew she was going to lose the belt, and it's yeah, but your emotions are still in on it, right? You were champion. That was a proud defining moment for you to hold that belt, and then you dropped the belt at Mania. You're going to be a little emotional, So yeah, I mean that's it is what it is on that. Shout out to Liv Morgan. I'm hoping that something interesting happens within the Judgment Day regarding Liv or Dom and this whole situation. I'll get into more of that when we talk about Dominik's match on night 2. And then we top it off with a nice little package of Bianca Belair announcing pregnancy to the entire world. So everyone's in congratulatories for Bianca Belair and Montez Ford as they are expecting parents. And that is super sweet and super awesome. So big congratulations to Bianca, and many blessings for a healthy baby, and all that good stuff. It's really nice. It was a really nice thing. Then we get to a match that is pretty hated on. The undisputed WWE Championship match. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. And this one right here is one for the books, because normally the face is cheered for, but in this case, it was reversed. And it's just in this instance, everyone was just gun-ho and gun-set on Randy Orton getting number 15, surpassing Triple H's title run, history, and being up there with Ric Flair and John Cena. He's getting close. He's catching up to Cena. However, rumors had it there was a problem with all of it, and that was Randy Orton may have suffered a major back injury again. And so there's a lot of things tossed around about, last minute audible call, and Randy Orton was just so hold up, we're not going to put the belt on you just yet. So, Cody was going to retain. And so, very interesting way to open up the match and everything like that. Of course, they've been trying to get the heat on Randy Orton, and it wasn't working. Fans were more on Randy Orton than Cody Rhodes. So putting him up side by side with Pat McAfee acting like the little pretentious douche that only, he's really good at portraying, because he did a good job. I got to give Pat McAfee him his flowers. He did a good job getting all that heat from the fans, including his little thing. And I don't know if people noticed this, but like when Randy was attacking Cody and Pat was like imitating Randy, like if Randy was stomping on Cody in the corner, then Pat was kind of doing the same motion standing behind Randy, almost as if like, he was portraying this character like that is not a pro wrestler, was not born into the business, was not doing this for years, but considers himself the greatest, and he lives vicariously through people that he was going to quote unquote manage. And so that was a very good way to get heat on. I love that aspect about it, and so I'm just like 2 thumbs up on that. Of course, their pre-match beatdown on Cody backfired on them, and Cody pretty much messed up Pat McAfee, right? Hitting him with the crossroads, and then putting him through a table. And literally at that point, Randy just kind of taking a moment. I don't know if that was a plan to do that, just to kind of like make sure that Randy is set to at least do the match, with a possible back injury and whatnot. So, and we finally get to the match. And you could hear it in the crowd, like, fans kind of turning on Cody. And that's kind of the thing right now. It's like when Cody was doing, chasing the title and wanting to finish the story for the late, great Dusty Rhodes, fans was all behind Cody. But you have to look at Cody's title run, the matches that he's had and whatnot. Like, you look at before he became WWE champion for the first time. You look before that, and you see matches like him and Brock Lesnar, right? And best out of 3, because they've met on 3 different occasions. You see that. You see the run up against the Bloodline. You see that, right? So there's a lot of hype behind Cody's run to become WWE champion, including the assistance of Seth Rollins and other people kind of stepping in. Jey Uso walking away from the Bloodline and standing with Cody and then against the Bloodline and everything. It just made for great storytelling, great television. And then after that, when he became champion, it was like it felt stale. If you're a Cody fan, listen, okay, don't run up the wall and do swanton bombs on your bed out of anger, because I'll tell you right now, it's been bland. You got to call a spade a spade. It's been kind of bland. I mean, there really wasn't much to it. I think the only 2 points of Cody Rhodes' title run, the only 2 points that, if you were to tell me, name me some great plot points of when Cody was champion, I'm going to say the John Cena heel turn and the Drew McIntyre thing. That's it. Okay, his back and forth with Solo. I don't know. To me, Solo is it's just not working out. I wouldn't have surprised me if the MFTs completely turn on Solo, and then they make something interesting out of that, like the student versus the teacher type thing, where the students take over the classroom is what I mean. But yes, so yeah, we have an interesting match. We have some spot moments, some good moments. The overall match in itself, to me, was a 3.9, and it was okay. Randy was a saving grace out of all of it, and I think what gave a potential pop for all of it was the fact that when Pat McAfee came back out and was trying to quote unquote help Randy win, and he slow counts, and out of nowhere, Randy just decides to RKO Pat McAfee. But then, of course, because he was distracted by Pat, he got put in the crossroads for the pin. Cody retains. Okay, great. I like the way how they decided to end the match and end it not on the celebratory level, right? Cody didn't get to celebrate his victory. And we saw the return of the punt. That was kind of the saving grace of it. It wouldn't surprise me that if the writers backstage decide to capitalize on the heat that Cody's getting and try to turn this into some story where Cody and Pat McAfee were in cahoots, because this would definitely set up for the rumors of a potential Punk and Cody feud down the road here in a little bit. I'll get into that as I go over night 2, but I'll just say this. Randy still has an opportunity to get number 15. We'll just have to see how that goes. Hopefully his back is not that badly damaged to where he's going to need to take time out, because it would suck to have Randy gone for like another year. That would totally blow. I honestly feel that way. So overall, night 1, in my opinion, actually turns out to be that I would rate night 1 a 3.2. There were great moments, defining matches like the Unsanctioned Match with Jacob Fatu. And of course, the Undisputed Championship match was a bit cold on the Cody side, but it was a really warm on the Randy side. And, that was like a saving grace to all of it. And then Bianca Belair's pregnancy announcement kind of saved night 1. All good things to be, celebratory about. So, that's what I rated for night 1. And then we get night 2. Okay, so for you guys don't know, John Cena hosted both night 1 and night 2, and he was very happy to be told that he was going to host night number 2, because night number 2 is where things really kind of kicked up. Okay, so the first thing that we got, and the elephant in the room, we're going to address it now, is the Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar, and nobody saw what was coming at the end of it. So first of all, Oba Femi looked good in the match, okay? I was afraid this was going to be another, WrestleMania 20 Goldberg versus Brock, that type of thing, or, Survivor Series Brock versus Goldberg when Goldberg returned. I thought it was going to be something like that, a squash match or something like that. And no, it didn't. Oba Femi looked good in the ring. He looked great. He looked strong. He looked powerful. He looked like this was the answer for many, many years when people were like, who could stand toe-to-toe with Brock and make Brock look average? And Oba Femi did it. So great storytelling to lead up to this match, and a great match between Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar technically passing the torch is what happened. I mean, we saw Brock kind of dominate Oba Femi in some points in the match. We saw Oba Femi kind of like eat what Brock threw at him and just smiled. And it was good. It was good. And it wasn't like, 10 F5s or any of that crap. Literally, we got to see an F5. I honestly thought that when he hurt Oba's arm, I honestly thought that we were probably going to see the Kimura lock. We didn't see that. We saw an F5. We saw a couple of suplexes, so we got to see a subdivision of Suplex City. But then we saw something very interesting. We saw, the choke slam. We saw the fall from grace powerbomb. We saw 1, 2, 3. And it left me and my daughter speechless, like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, we're not used to this. We're not used to Brock going down on the first attempted finisher. And Brock went down. He didn't try to kick out. Just laid on the mat. So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Like, maybe they're going to have this long-running feud between these two guys, maybe leading up to SummerSlam. No, we didn't get that. What we got, Oba Femi leaves the ring after winning. Camera stays on Brock. And then we see Brock take off his gloves. We see him unlace his boots. And then we see an entirely different side of Brock Lesnar. And this is crazy. So we know what Brock is like when he's an arrogant beast. We know what Brock is when he is the Beast Incarnate. We know what Brock is when he wants to be a bit funny, a bit silly about it, right? Like he almost warms you up to thinking like, oh, okay, he's a normal guy. I can joke with him, and then you'll get your ass kicked right after. But funny moments with Brock, for sure, definitely. Now we got to see an emotional side of Brock Lesnar. After taking off his wrestling boots and his gloves and placing it in the ring, a signal signifying that's his career. He's done. He's retired. A lot of fans were just like in shock and stunned and just didn't know for a split second how to react to this. But thank God we got some great wrestling fans, because it didn't take long for them to say, you know what, I get it. This is what's happening. Let's give him a hero send-off. And we heard a lot of chants of thank you, Brock, and thank you, Lesnar. Paul Heyman's face was one for the books. Paulus literally was like in shock himself. And then we seen emotions just off the wall. Brock Lesnar crying in the ring. I never thought that was the way he was going to retire. Brock to me has always been like the man's man, you know what I mean? Like he goes on the Broken Skull podcast, talks about his favorite thing to do is to be on his land because he has no neighbors near him, and bust out, you know, the tomahawk steaks and grill and eat and just chill and work his farm. But you know what? Just because he cried doesn't mean that he's weak or that he's a bitch or anything like that. It's the reality of it. He loved to do what he did. Like maybe he wasn't so approachable, you know, while he was, you know, in the WWE and he was going up and down the road, traveling and going to shows and performing. Maybe you saw him at the airport and you were just too afraid to get his autograph. Maybe you saw one of, you know, his podcast interviews and he says that, you know, he's an introvert, doesn't really like people coming around him and stuff like that. Like, so, but had people known that Brock was going to retire, you know, I'm sure people would have lined up to try to get autographs, pictures, one final picture of Brock Lesnar's last WrestleMania. Like that would have been a thing. But obviously, Brock knows himself very well. And so to avoid that, that's probably why nobody even knew he was going to retire. He shocked the fans of his retirement. He was very humble about his retirement. Tears in his eyes, facial expression, you know, crying because that was his last moment. And hey, that's a great way, you know, that's a great way for someone to go out. I mean, maybe he said to himself in his head, I am going to wrestle Oba Femi. And if I can't pull off what I used to do in the past, maybe it's time to hang it up. Maybe that's how he gauged his decision to retire, was with this match with him and Oba Femi. So he felt it's time to hang it up. Hey, great. Because sometimes these wrestlers don't know when they're past their prime. Like, you know, the whole thing with Triple H and The Undertaker, the streak with The Undertaker, and how Triple H was trying to tell The Undertaker that sometimes they don't know when it's time. And like him and Shawn had this pact between them, and it was like, if one couldn't go anymore, it was the other one's responsibility to look them in the eye and tell them it's time. Some wrestlers don't know when it's their time, and so at least, you know, shout out to Brock. In his mind, he knew it was time. It was time for him to go away. It was time for him to walk away. Does it mean that this is the last time we'll see Brock Lesnar? Hell no. No, that's not the last time we're going to see Brock. I'm sure Brock will make cameos down the road. We'll maybe get an F5 or so. Who knows? But I don't think this is a work. I don't think that Brock is going to go away for like almost a year, and then he's going to come back when, you know, when they turn Oba Femi heel, and Oba Femi's talking about how he's dominant and all this other stuff, and keeps bringing up the fact that, you know, he beat Brock. I don't think we're going to see that down the road. If I'm wrong, I'm happy. But if I'm right, I'm still happy for Brock that he had a great career, and, you know, both in WWE and in the UFC. So big shout out. Brock Lesnar's retired. Okay. I don't think I set a rating for that match, but, you know, as I recollected and everything like that, Oba Femi defeats Brock Lesnar. That match, I'm going to throw it out at a 4.2. Great way to open up night 2 of WrestleMania. And then from that, we get to the Intercontinental Ladder Match Championship match. It's a 6-way match. We got Penta, the defending champion. We got Javon Evans. We got Dragon Lee. We got JD McDonough. We got Rusev. And we got Rey Mysterio. So this is where it gets weird, because maybe, you know, Rey Mysterio got last-minute clearance to be in it or whatever. Because that's originally who was supposed to face Gunther, was Rey Mysterio. But Rey Mysterio out with an injury, and so they had to get a replacement. And so, yeah, people kind of question that. But here's the thing. If Rey Mysterio was cleared to wrestle at WrestleMania, that he was going to be able to attend it, they had already booked Seth and Gunther. They just can't quickly just cancel that in favor of having the original plan, Rey Mysterio versus Gunther. So I believe that the Rey Mysterio Gunther thing will probably happen at SummerSlam or a little bit further down. As with Brock retiring, I'm sure fans thought that, okay, if Ray didn't capture Intercontinental Gold, that WrestleMania would be his retirement, but no. That match insanely blew my mind. That right there was a freaking 4.7 match. I love the spots that happened. The Mexican Destroyer on the ladder. Poor JD McDonough, but good thing JD's got a big head because that probably absorbed some of the impact from the ladder. I'm not trying to make fun of him of his big head and stuff like that, but I mean, he does have quite a large head. Like, my daughter thinks that he definitely can pass to be an Oompa Loompa in a new Wonka movie. I mean, he just has the look of the original Oompa Loompas in the Gene Wild Willy Wonka and the Chocolate. There really wasn't a lot of points where JD looked good in this match, and I feel kind of bad for that because I do want to see JD McDonough break away from why the hell was I gonna say the Justice League, the Judgment Day, and kind of go on his own. It would be a great feud between JD and Dirty Dom down the road at some time where JD just gets tired of Dom's crap. But anyways, there were some good moments to it. Javon Evans with that cutter off the ladder to Rusev. They could have did that one a little bit better, or at least angled the camera better. The view from the camera to show that spot literally gave everyone, oh, Rusev jumped into it. Like, Javon Evans didn't leap far enough to catch Rusev on it and bring him down for the cutter. He jumped into it, which of course he had to in order for it to be pulled off safely. Okay, but there's, I just feel like sometimes WWE's quality control has gone downhill because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you wouldn't see that. You would actually see that it happened, but you wouldn't see it that defining to let you know that Rusev jumped into it for the spot. You would have to really look close from a different angle that they would have used back in the day. But I digress. Okay, so Javon Evans had his moments. Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio going at it. The student versus the teacher type of thing. That was pretty awesome. So we don't know if we're going to get a feature story with Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. That's a possibility if the fans were feeling it. But Penta, successful title defense in a near impossible situation, right? One, the Intercontinental title is being contested in a ladder match, and then two, you got 5 opponents, not just one. So it was anybody's game, and that was very great. And I love the WrestleMania entrance costumes, especially Penta coming out as Shao Kahn, a big nod to Mortal Kombat 2. So that was really awesome. Shout out Penta. Very great. So, what did I say? 4.7? I still stick with that, a 4.7 for the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. And then we move on to the United States Championship match where we're seeing Sami Zayn fall down the rabbit's hole and turning heel. And, so he defended his title against Trick Williams, and Trick Williams was escorted to the ring by Yachty or something like that. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to poke fun of it. I'm just, I'm not hip to today's hip hop artists. There's only a few that I like. Anyway, so Trick Williams, the match was actually pretty good. I'll give it that. 3.9 ratings, what I would give the match in itself. Trick Williams obviously coming out on top with the victory, becoming the new United States champion. And again, this is like one of those things where fans were turning on Sami Zayn because they really felt like that, Carmelo's spot at WrestleMania was stolen from him. That was a narrative being pushed around. And so, fans are agreeing with that too. Sami Zayn not being able to capture a major singles title like Kevin Owens was able to. And it's such a tough spot for Sami. But we did see Sami start pulling out some underhanded tricks. We do get the heel vibe, the heel switch up. So we'll see what Sami Zayn's going to do now after WrestleMania, losing his title to Trick Williams. Trick Williams, the new United States champion. And then where is Carmelo in the picture of all this? Well, maybe we'll get a triple threat match at the next PLE, or maybe it leads up to a triple threat match at SummerSlam. We'll have to see. But Trick Williams is the new United States champion, and so that's pretty awesome. And cutting away from that to the street fight between Dirty Dom and the Demon Balor. And this one was pretty interesting. And my daughter was actually kind of like, creeped out by Finn's demon side, right? And I had to explain the whole thing behind it. That Finn's like an alter ego. Like you got Finn Balor, and he's like normal, and he's talking, and just doing his thing and wrestling and whatnot. But then if you poke deep enough into Finn Balor, and then you will unlock the demon as your opponent. And we only get the demon on a few occasions. So I know Finn Balor fans had to be absolutely excited to see the return of the demon. We haven't seen him in a long time. I think the last time that we had anything close to that, wasn't it when, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the last time we saw the Demon Balor was when it was him and Edge, when Edge was excommunicated from the Judgment Day, and they had their match. But other than that, I mean, the Demon Balor returned. He gets the W. He defeated Dominik Mysterio. Dominik not able to pull a victory off by himself. And no interference, and that was a great thing too. Like, I just didn't want to see JD McDonough come out and try to help him. Everybody stayed in the back. Raquel was in the back. Roxanne wasn't there. And so it was just Dom and it was Finn. And Finn gets the victory. So now where does this leave Dom and Liv's eyes? Because this can go two ways storyline-wise. Liv can look at Dom and think that, okay, he can't even get a victory on his own, while she got her victory and captured the women's world title on night one. Dom couldn't get a victory over a guy that they excommunicated from the group, and she can just find him to be useless, having the Judgment Day turn on him, which would be great because we've had Dirty Dom as a heel for a few years now, and that would be a great way to kind of like position him back into a face, into a nice feud. But it would be also strange too, because I don't see JD McDonough being able to kind of put himself in that pole position of being the front man of the Judgment Day, which the Judgment Day would consist of Raquel, Liv, and Roxanne, and then just JD. That wouldn't make sense to me. So to me, to pull that off, if they can get JD looked at by fans in a different way, as seen as a leader type role, but not, it wouldn't be like the leader, because Liv obviously calls the shots with the Judgment Day, but then they can bring in more other people. They can call up NXT people and actually pop them into the Judgment Day to kind of create this atmosphere. Because if not that, then the only other logical thing would be for Liv to go face when the Judgment Day turns on her, and Dom, being Dirty Dom, is in the ear of Raquel to get Raquel to turn on Liv. Because remember, Raquel had opportunities for the Women's World Championship, and she didn't come through, but Liv comes back from injury, comes back into the Judgment Day, comes back in taking the pole position front runner, and then gets a title shot and wins that title. Dom can definitely play on some serious jealousy with Raquel. So I see this going different ways. But yeah, Dominik, he lost. And it was a right call. The match between the Demon Balor and Dominik Mysterio, I give it as a 3.7. And that's where I leave it at. There was just things like, to me, Dominik's been wrestling for a while now. He's been in the company for a while now. And sometimes I still feel he's a little bit wet behind the ears. So maybe less imitating Eddie and more honing your craft. I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, he's as bad as Jade Cargill was when she first stepped into WWE and all that stuff. He's not like that. But I think there's an expectation that I have of Dominik Mysterio that I think that he just needs to start working on and kind of building himself up. It's time for guys like Dominik to take over as faces of the company. Dom has it. He has it all. Honestly, he does look good at times in the rings, but there's just times where it just seems like that he's just not really feeling it. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have his his chicken nuggies that day. But anyways, so let me move up to the women's championship match, and this was my saving grace of a match. And it's like, first off, flowers given. Jade Cargill does not look like a greenhorn anymore. So her match against Rhea, she dominated Rhea, and that was beyond me. I was like, whoa, this is something I wasn't expecting to see, Rhea kind of ragdolled like that. We're used to seeing Rhea being the powerhouse dominant person. So, like Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar, we got Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley defeated Jade Cargill, becoming the women's WWE champion. And a great move, because honestly, Jade Cargill's got a little bit more to go. Like, she's gotten better. Her in-ring abilities, her skills in the ring are good now. They look smooth. It doesn't look all jagged like it was when she was a face. Now that she got into her heel persona as the women's WWE champion, and she picked up some cronies, right? Michin, now part of Jade's group, and BFAB as part of Jade's group. And so now, kind of like how Jade was in AEW and how she had, her cronies there. So it just felt like, I think that's what it took. They should have never brought Jade in as a face. She should have started off as a heel because that's what she was in AEW. In AEW, that was how she played very well, and it was comfortable for her, you can tell. And so now you can see that translate to her in-ring abilities. She's smooth. And so because she's smooth, that match looked pretty good. I honestly didn't think that Jade was going to lose the belt. I thought with Jade having her new cronies, her little group going on, I honestly felt like that Jade would have held onto the belt. They would have probably had a feud with Naomi coming back, right? With Naomi comes back this year, who knows, right? Right now, she's enjoying, motherhood and everything like that. So, but anyways, so yeah, what we got a good match between Rhea and Jade. Even though Jade moves this, I thought Jade could have done a little bit more better, but still. Then we had the cronies come out, right? Michin and BFAB came out. Jade trying to tell them to get involved so that way, she can retain her title. Beautiful moment. Io Sky comes out to help. The numbers game still stacks in the favor of Jade, but Rhea gets the victory. And it was such a sweet way because Rhea goes for Riptide. It's countered. Jade Cargill is going for Jaded. That's countered into a Riptide. And for the 1-2-3 pin victory, Rhea walks out women's WWE champion. And by right, everybody who is a Rhea fan has been waiting for her to get back on top. So WrestleMania 42 should have been, subtitled "The Moment That People Get Back on Top." Right? We got Liv Morgan becoming the women's world champion. Rhea Ripley becoming the WWE women's champion. We get our cut moment from that. We get our cut moment. Danhausen, John Cena, The Miz, Kit Wilson. Nice way to kind of prepare the lead up for the main event. And the main event and what it was. And that was crazy. So yeah. Roman Reigns defeated CM Punk. And this was going on in so many different ways. There were so many angles to all of this, right? Some people looked at it as, the heart of pro wrestling versus corporate wrestling, right? CM Punk taking jabs at Roman, reminding everybody that Roman is born into this business. CM Punk was not born into this business. Roman had things handed to him. CM Punk had to fight for everything that he got. Punk was on the indie scene. Roman just decided to come in and become developed. And because of who his family is and whatnot, he was catapulted to the top. That's how a lot of people looked at a lot of this, right? Because it is what it is on it. Like CM Punk, yeah, he touched on some things that's taboo. Okay, people were all upset and shocked that he brought up Sika, right? That infamous pipe bomb that he dropped where he said he was gonna bury Roman next to Sika, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful." But what? It's like, what is it? Like when CM Punk says that Roman Reigns is protected, right? That's what he talked about. He said, you went on the Jimmy Fallon show because your bitch ass is protected. It would seem that way. So Punk mentions a legend who passed away in a pipe bomb. The world goes nuts. Even guys like Zilla Fatu talks about how they hate CM Punk and they're mad at him because he disrespected, the Anoa'i Fatu family. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, Anoa'i Fatu might be a family. Okay, cool. But you mean to tell me that you guys can talk about legends who's passed on? How many times did Roman in his feud with Cody for the Undisputed Championship, how many times did Roman bring up Dusty? How many times? Because Punk didn't stand there in the ring and said anything to the notion of like F Sika, right? He never said that, right? He just told Roman he was going to bury Roman next to Sika, right? In like an analogy form that, you know, Roman's career is going to be dead. What has Roman done? Roman made mention of Dusty several occasions, and one in a very disrespectful way, mentioning the fact that you know, Dusty was ashamed of Cody, and that, you know, he was more proud of Roman, that like Roman was more of like a son to Dusty to lead on the family legacy into WWE as being somebody, you know, who's trained with the great Dusty Rhodes. So it's like, I've never really understood that point. Like, as we know, CM Punk beats to his own drum. We know he's going to say what the fuck he wants to say. That's him. It's always been him. And so, you know, they always, you know, they cut the package and everything like that about their hatred towards one another and whatnot. Great. The entrances to this match I thought were really good. You know, having the live performance on, you know, and to let everyone know that wasn't a tiger drum. Yes, it was a drum. It was a bass drum, but it wasn't a tiger drum. And having a live intro version of, you know, I Am Greatness, that was a great way for Roman to come out. And of course, showing every member of the Anoa'i, Fatu, Maivia family was a great setup for the Titantron as Roman came out to begin his walk to the ring for the main event of night 2. And it was a beautiful package. We saw Yokozuna, we saw Umaga, we saw, you know, The Rock, we saw, you know, clips of the Usos, Jacob Fatu. We've seen members of the Anoa'i Fatu Maivia family on that video package for Roman's entrance. Great. And so I was like, okay, so what is CM Punk going to come out to, right? And some people may have felt maybe CM Punk's just going to come out to cult of personality because, you know, he's a no bullshit type of guy. He doesn't hang on the corporate coattails. He beats to his own drum. He's CM Punk. But no, even he gets a phenomenal entrance into his match, his main event match at WrestleMania 42, because it first starts off playing one of the most badass songs I love from AFI, right? So what's it? Miseria Contraire. They play that song as they go through the history of CM Punk. Not only in WWE, we saw photos of him in his TNA days. We saw photos of him in the Ring of Honor days. We see photo after photo after photo of Punk in the indie scene, in like, you know, the dirty, messy fucking beer halls that he wrestled in and everything like that, to get to where he's at that moment, defending the World Heavyweight Championship in a main event, the main event of WrestleMania 42. So it wasn't night 1 main event, it was night 2, the closing to the entire WrestleMania 42 experience. That was awesome and amazing. And you know, so they play that song from AFI. Beautiful way to go. Now, I would have loved it if it followed up with an entrance using This Fire Burns, right? Because Punk positioned it in that context. Real pro wrestling versus corporate plastic created wrestling. And so if he was going to come out to that, why not come out to This Fire Burns? That would have been better, right? I like the song Cult of Personality, but I would have just really loved it if he came out to This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage. That would have been superly good. A great way to do it. Or at least run through it, right? The opening package to CM Punk's entrance from AFI. Follow up into This Fire Burns, and then lead up to Cult of Personality, because you got that long walkway. Half of that walkway could have been This Fire Burns, and then a nice smooth transition into Cult of Personality to kind of just emphasize the years, hard work, dedication, blood, sweat, and tears, and evolution of CM Punk all the way to the ring. That was great, wonderful, and beautiful. Great way to go into it. I love that the Usos did not get involved. I love that nobody got involved, and that was the best thing, because if someone got involved, it was going to take away from one or the other, okay? So we get the match. We get the lead-in introductions, the announcer of the challenger, the announcer of the champion. Bell rings. Do they explode? No, they don't. fashionable, great way to start a match. It's like the psychology both these men have is just superb. They know how to fucking get everyone eating out of their hand. The stare down, the standoff, the forehead to forehead, trying to dominate one another, like they're a pack of wolves, and one is trying to assert dominance as the alpha of the pack. That was a great way to kind of start it off. Good way to kind of get in there. Obviously, good ring work by Roman, emphasizing power and strength. Good ring work by CM Punk, emphasizing strategy, technicality. Great way, right? But they didn't just leave it like, CM Punk only has technical skills in the ring to be able to help him. There were moments where people felt like that this was unreal. Punk was able to throw bombs that hurt Roman, right? So they didn't make Roman this powerhouse that was indestructible. Yes, he looked strong. His strength was what was mostly used in the match to overpower Punk. But there was points where Punk hit him and it showed he had weakness. So, great way to do it. In the ring, out the ring action, very good. Moments of disbelief was there and present. Again, these guys' ring psychology is amazing. They know how to turn it up. And, there were even moments where you were just like in shock and awe, like, when Punk was tied up in the Tree of Woe and Roman decides to deliver him 3 Superman punches. Punk bleeds out of the mouth, right? You can see the blood in his mouth and all over his lip. Punk gets busted open and bleeds from the forehead. Punk driven through a table. That was amazing. Punk elbow dropping Roman through a table. Like they did not stop anywhere. And this match was just action from the moment the bell rang to the moment a champion was announced. Action and never a fucking dull moment. Never dull moment at all whatsoever. 4.9. I rate the match. 4.9. I loved how nothing was taken away from CM Punk. So, to the wrestling fans out there who are just wrestling fans, let me tell you guys this. When people are saying stuff like what made Punk think he could stand with Roman, you guys missed the entire freaking point of all this. In a promo where Roman threw at Punk about him being old, and you saw that Punk snapped and just went after Roman and beat his ass that night on Raw. I think it was on Raw. This match was literally telling Punk, can he still go? Let's just call it that. Can he still go? I don't know if people were listening to the in-ring audios when they would turn on the shotgun mic to really grab what these guys were saying, right? You guys heard, I don't know if you guys did. If you guys did, comment and let me know you guys did. If you guys heard Roman kind of telling, Punk, like, come on. Like, after he basically had Punk where he wanted him and was like, mock me again, bitch. You heard that back and forth, right? I don't know if you guys heard Punk's back and forth with him at a certain point where Punk was just, yelling at Roman, like, who's old now? Like, who's the old bitch now? And if not, read their lips too, and you can kind of make what they're saying. But Punk had a lot going on in this. One, he got a WrestleMania main event moment, the main event moment. Number 2, he came in as World Heavyweight Champion, which even he says was not really supposed to happen. The fact that when Seth Rollins got injured and the World Heavyweight title was up in the air and questioned, and CM Punk basically defeated Gunther for the World Heavyweight title, and then he got World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther lost to him. Punk cashed in on him. Punk became champion. Punk got injured, and so they had this whole thing again. I think it was Jay that Punk faced to become World Heavyweight Champion. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But yeah, he wasn't supposed to run as World Heavyweight Champion, but he did. He ran as World Heavyweight Champion. He got another title run, and a good one too. I mean, it wasn't a long one, but it was a good one. You know what I mean? Watching CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship is like watching two best friends that you're best friends with that are fighting. And so My daughter kept asking me, who do I want to win? Who do I want to win? And I told her, I don't care who wins. I don't care if Roman wins. I don't care if Punk retains. I don't. I just want to see a good match. And that's what they did. Both these guys delivered a good match. 4.9, I give it. Roman got the win. Roman got the win, and his victory over Punk does not overshadow Punk. It does not make Punk weak. It does not shatter everything that's about CM Punk. Punk went down in a blaze of glory. If you think about it, 2 of Heyman guys went down in a blaze of glory last night, WrestleMania 42. Brock Lesnar defeated by Oba Femi in a clean victory. No bullshit match. Unlaces his boots, takes his gloves off, and puts it in the middle of the ring, and then says goodbye to the fans. CM Punk fought tooth and nail, took some of the biggest shots that Roman could offer, and still kept coming. For an old guy, Roman, for an old guy. You have to see it in Roman's face. Roman's face, there were a lot of what the fuck moments for Roman, where he thought that anybody else that he would have faced in the ring, he would have put down with those moves. Superman punch would have been put down. Spear would have been put down. You know, shield powerbomb over a table would have been put down, and Punk kept coming. So Roman had a lot of good what the fuck moment faces. And those are great. Those are beautiful. I love seeing stuff like that. The shocking moments that define a match and makes it so great. And I was like, yes, we are getting one for the books. The only real saving grace was the last 2 matches of WrestleMania 42. Women's Championship match with Rhea Ripley, but the biggest savior was Roman and Punk's title match. Roman is now top dog again. The OTC is the World Heavyweight Champion. And nothing taken away from CM Punk. Why? Because CM Punk fought tooth and nail with everything he had. But even though he wanted to not accept the fact that, you know, his body is getting older, his body told him, nope, that's it, you're done. Right? That was a beautiful way to end the match, to have Roman get a victory. Because Punk hit him with a GTS, he flopped against the ropes, he fell back on top of Punk in position for another GTS, and Punk carried him. He got up to both his legs. All he had to do was elevate and drop to a rising knee. But that's where Punk's body said no. And he collapsed. And they didn't just make it, okay, yeah, he collapsed. Now it's Roman. Roman hit him with a spear and pin. No, they did do it. Roman went for the spear. After Punk could not hit the second GTS, Roman went for the spear. But not only did Roman hit that spear and Punk ate it like okay. Because that was a shocking moment too. People thought, okay, if Punk's body gave out on him, if he was too exhausted, too tired, that his body's like, no more, you can't do it. Even though his heart was fighting, his body said no more. Roman hit the spear. Not only did he hit the spear, it didn't lay out Punk. Like, he leveled Punk with the spear, and Punk immediately spun into, you know, sitting on his knees. And it was like, wait, what the fuck, you know? Like, you couldn't hit the second GTS to probably secure your victory. You just ate a spear, and your heart is still ready to go. So then Roman hit the super spear. 1, 2, 3. Roman gets the victory. And my daughter and I were very concerned for CM Punk, because we watched Roman's celebration. He was back on top, the pyrotechnics going off, everything like that. Roman, you know, basically hugging his family. There was a moment where Roman stood on the side of the ring, and again with the World Heavyweight Championship and the Ulufala in the other hand. And if you look to the right, you see CM Punk walking, and he just collapses face first back onto the mat outside the ring. I was really concerned, but thank God they put it out there to let everybody know Punk is okay, his body's okay, no serious injuries, no concussions, none of that stuff. So, great big victory for Roman. Roman's back on top. And yeah, where does Roman go from here? I mean, one thing that happened in this feud between Roman Reigns and CM Punk is that Roman did not get the title without having his balls clipped. there's one thing that, most fans are not going to hang up on, but other fans are always going to carry with them in remembrance. When Punk and Roman first began build up to their match at WrestleMania, Punk said something, and it's absolutely true whether you like it or not. Whether you like Punk or not, if you're more of a Roman fan and you're a Roman backer or whatever, you cannot discredit what Punk said. Okay, we all know that Roman's title run, his 1,316-day title run, was obviously Vince's way of shattering CM Punk's record with CM Punk's over 400 days, right? It was like what? 426 or something like that. But when you look at it, what Punk said, he may have the longest amount of days as champion, but who did it better? And there's where he clipped Roman's balls. I don't care if people get offended by this. This is really what it is. He had him. He put the muzzle on the big dog with that alone, because that just literally shitted all over that 1,316 days. You're champion for 1,316 days. You had less title defenses than CM Punk, who was only champion for 400 and some odd days, had more title defenses. Yeah, that stings. And that's what people's fear is. Roman is champion now. So is Roman going to be a defending champion at every PLE? Or are we going to see Roman's next appearance for SummerSlam? And I'm not too happy about that, because I like champions who defend at PLEs. I like champions who've got the balls to defend on Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. So, but all is not lost for CM Punk. Before I end out this podcast, let me just say this. You guys remember, if you've made it this far into the live stream, replay crew or not, do you remember what I said earlier when I was talking about Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Pat McAfee? Interesting how CM Punk had a response to Pat McAfee when he cut his pipe bomb on Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania. We see Randy Orton RKO Pat McAfee. And I said, how weird would it be if Randy Orton, this whole thing plays out where Cody is going heel, and that it was a ruse all along, and McAfee and Rhodes were in cahoots. Or maybe not. That's too readable. Maybe Pat McAfee gets close to Cody because of what Randy did to him. That RKO stung, and Pat can't live with this. And maybe he decides to be that little nudge, that little nudge Cody needed to go heel. And it makes McAfee the devil. Punk had a response to McAfee, so there's something there. Many people speculate that not right away, but somewhere down the road this year, 2026, we could see a development feud between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And it could be based on that fact. It could be based on Cody's descent into becoming a heel. It could be based on that. It could be based on Cody aligning himself with Pat McAfee, McAfee and Cody's head, driving this wedge between Cody and Punk. Because that's all that we've really seen with Cody Rhodes. Cody has lost his friends. Every friend he has at some point becomes a feud and a betrayal to Cody. So why not this be the developing punchline where Cody betrays Punk and everybody else? Like, beat him to the punch, he says. Everyone's been screwing him over, because that's what he told Punk that night when they talked on SmackDown. What did he tell him? Is this the point where you give me flowers and then you're gonna kick me in the nuts? So there's still more to CM Punk, and maybe him and AJ just need a little bit of time, right? Like, this is not the old CM Punk that can go 300 days on the road, right? He's got to take a little bit moment of a break. It's coming to his time. We already know that. Brock retired. Punk is going to retire here soon. Rey Mysterio is going to retire here soon. Randy Orton is going to retire here soon. It's time for these men to go. It's time for them to move out the way and let the new stars shine. And that's how you do it. So we could be seeing some development of Punk because of all the dirt sheets out there who literally said that this change up with champions on Monday Night Raw is because Netflix wants ratings and feels that Roman would bring better ratings as the champion on Raw on Netflix than what CM Punk would. I don't know about that because fans still chant for CM Punk. Fans still react to CM Punk's pipe bombs. Don't know what it is, but this is where Punk was talking about, corporate created corporate stuff. All that corporate jargon is when companies like Netflix and ESPN and they can dictate what TKO should do. I was gonna say RKO. What TKO should do with the talent and the story and who's on what show and how this plays out with the commercial ads, with the celebrity, guest stars and all this crap. That's what Punk was talking about. So, anyways, WrestleMania as a whole, out of 5 stars, 4.6 is what I rated. And those were some of that's just by the saving graces of the saving graces of those matches. We had some very crappy matches. I felt like the women were not given the opportunity. So hopefully, if they haven't done another all-women's PLE, they really need to start considering it as part of the calendar year events, right? I would love that. Or they could do... actually, here's what I could do. Before I close out the show today, this is my idea. We have a Saturday night main event, right? These are, I think, quarterly, event, right? It's not a grand PLE, but it's not like a regular, weekly episode show. If you have Saturday night main event, turn that into an all men's event and bring back Sunday night heat and make that an all women's exclusive mid event that's quarterly. Give the women their own spot. They really deserve it. I would really love to see more stories concerning the women wrestlers and what they can do, because then you have a much faster bridge to bring up NXT talents, which is my final closeout. Who do I think is going to make the jump from NXT to either Monday Night Raw or SmackDown? And the one person who I really want to see move up without them tainting, tarnishing, or, dumbing down her character, Sol Ruca. I would love to start seeing her, and I would love to see Sol Ruca feud with Liv Morgan. That would be super cool. But that's just me. What says you guys? You guys let me know in the comments. Give me you guys' entire thoughts. Give me your ratings. Doesn't matter. You take your time, comment them. Or if you had an emotional outburst, please do share. I would love to read those comments. Thanks for hanging out here on the Twist and Tap. I love you guys very much, and I will see you guys in the next one. And of course, well then, be cool, man. And remember, don't try this at home. You guys remember those ads? Like WWE, these moves are done by professionals. Don't try this at home. All because a kid decided to do a Stone Cold Stunner and mess his brother's neck up. Man. Wrestling is so cool. Absolutely cool. Absolutely cool. I would love to see it.